So, what I thought I wanted to start by reviewing yesterday what we. I think it's important that we review yesterday. So, I'm going to ask you what you remember from yesterday, or also, it also could be your own personal realization. Yes.
I remember when we find faults, we have a lot of pride in us.
Yes, exactly. And we had mentioned that there are cases when we have to point out a fault to protect another devotee, not to protect ourselves, or to protect our community. But aside from that, any other justification you make is a denial of the fact that it's coming from pride. In our retreat, if you're going to come to our retreat, the first section of the retreat is your relationship with yourself. And then the second is with others, and the third is with Krishna. So, in the section on your relationship with yourself, we're going to discuss how we deny things that are true. Because the false ego just doesn't want to admit it. So when we fault find, you have to be a strong person to admit your fault finding because you're proud. Generally, we don't admit that to ourselves. We say we're fault finding because there's a fault. And someone needs to speak up. Or it's just, isn't it? You ever do that? Justification. So that's the mechanism of the false ego will deny so many things that are true, which would minimize our ego. But when you're humble, you don't do that because there's nothing to protect. Because you're not trying to prove anything. You're just trying to be real and honest. And that's what humility means. It's just, it's not pretentious, it's how we are. Real and honest. And so there's nothing to protect. And I was, on the morning walk this morning, I was telling the devotees that your life becomes so much easier when you become humble because you don't have to act anymore to impress anybody. You don't have to put on a mask, that takes energy, right? You can just be yourself, and it's pretty easy to be yourself, right? And it's difficult to be someone else that you're trying to project onto the world, isn't it? So I was joking and I was saying it saves energy because we put a lot of energy into trying to be somebody, right? Yes? Everyone's silent, that means you agree. No, but just think about it. If you're not concerned about your image, you're not trying to impress anybody, that takes away a lot of that acting energy that we have to put into looking good. And so that energy can be put into better use. And it relieves so much stress and so much pain of false ego because you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't have to prove anything to yourself or anybody else. You just, this is how I am. If you don't like it, I don't know, I'm sorry, but this is how I am. Instead of, this is how I will appear to be so that you like me. Or so that you make me feel good by you thinking I'm Krishna conscious. You understand? You agree? Is it true? Years ago in Vrindavan, we did a class on humility. And that's how the class ended. And everyone realized that being humble is such a good position to be in because it just all the stress and anxiety of having to pretend and show off and have people find your faults. It doesn't matter because you're not trying to hide them. So you don't have to defend yourself. It's just like, yeah, this is what I'm like. I'm sorry, but I'm working on it. I'm aware of it. And I don't have to deny it. I don't have to pretend to you or to myself that it's not there. It's just such an easier way of living. Otherwise, now, in the next few weeks, so many devotees are coming. This is like when the acting starts. When all the senior people come and devotees coming from around, that's what you have to go into acting mode. You got to put the good tilak on. And that's good, isn't it? And the seniors are coming, and you got to keep your head covered, and look like you're a devotee, because the Maharajas might see you and think, "What's wrong with this woman? How she's dressed." Isn't it? Yeah. I think I have a reputation for being straightforward because I realize that there so much goes on in our minds and there's so much reality that we all know that nobody talks about and we really need to talk about. So this is one thing we don't talk about, but indirectly Prabhupada talks about it in his books. With the word Sharalata, which means simplicity, it means straightforward. And the word integrity means that what you are in public is the same as what you are at home. Let's turn it around. What you are at home is the same as public. There's no difference. That's integrity. So you don't try to show that you're something you're not. Now that's a kind of cheating. So this point that Aditi brought up is very important. Recognizing the fault find is coming from pride. And acknowledging that. And then, once you acknowledge, you can work on it. If you don't acknowledge, you can't make it better. And that's a huge problem. We have problems, not only that we don't acknowledge, that we know are there, but we don't want to acknowledge them. We have problems we don't even know are there. That's even more subtle, right? So at the retreat, we're going to go really subtle. You're going to come out totally depressed. You probably need a therapist for the rest of your life. There was a philosopher who said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll make you mad. You'll get angry. So yeah, in the beginning, when you see it, you realize, oh yeah, I was pretending to be something I'm not. But then you realize that, well, now I know, so I can work on it, and I can accept myself. Right? Hare Krishna. Yes, sir.
So I was just reflecting what is the cause of us being not really being proud. Yeah, being proud. Maybe being proud. Why we have this tendency. I was kind of analyzing and thinking we want love, we want attention.
Yeah.
So we're thinking by impressing somebody.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Something you're going to love. This is amazing. Should I tell you?
Of course. Yes.
So Alanis Morissette, she's a Canadian. She was, I don't know if she's still famous, but as a musician, but she was very, 10, 20 years ago or something. She was very famous. And in an interview, would you like to translate? Is that possible? You could translate for those two? What's your name?
Yeah. Translate to Chinese?
Yeah. Is it possible?
Of course.
That's a Chinese
You don't mind Chinese?
determination.
You can set it over there? It's at the door? Is that possible? Okay. You could sit over that side? So she was being interviewed. She was being interviewed and she said, I thought the ones in back can come in front.
The Matajis can sit there.
And then the Chinese devotees can go in the back. They need to. Where you're sitting against the wall, that's where the Chinese need to go. Because they need to be further away. You have to move. I won't shave your head or anything if you sit up close. So she said, I thought by becoming famous, then I would get all this adoration. And that would fulfill my need for love. Like all these people saying, you sing so beautifully. I love your music. So that was the need she was trying to fulfill. And when she became famous, she said, then I realized that it is never, the praise of others is never going to fulfill my need for love. I have a friend who became a very famous musician, and I was with him before he became famous. He knew he could become famous. And he would tell me, like, it's like such a high to be on stage clapping. So to be honored is one of the highest forms of sense gratification. Not necessarily the love aspect, because I think most entertainers know that people love their music, but don't necessarily love them. And there was a point in time where he was thinking of retiring and just like spending time in India and living very simply. And he called me up. He said, I just want gamcha and kitri. I just want to wear a gamcha and eat kitri. Because he lived this very high life of famous musician. Everybody knows him. And like 10 years ago, so I said, so I thought you were going to retire. And he said, yeah, but I love I love being on stage. I love the praise. I love the honor. So in the Gita, Prabhupada says something like, we have to give up the maybe you know exactly what I said, the satisfaction of being honored. It's like the way I read it was like, this is the highest sense gratification you can get, is being honored. So I think, we have to say that anything in this world that gives us gratification is sense gratification. So you can say it's ego gratification or mind gratification. So it's ego gratification. And that's a higher form than sense gratification. Otherwise, why don't people retire when they have $10 billion? Because they want to have their name on buildings, build more buildings. And get their name on a street sign or a city named after them. That's like the highest form of material gratification. The other reason pride is a problem is because that's the exact reason we came here. So there's all this momentum, like, you come to a store, you come with a purpose to buy something. So you walk in the store and you're like, I want this product. So we came in this world with a purpose. And that purpose was to be like Krishna. So Krishna is all famous. Everybody loves Krishna. So there's this momentum. And as you all know, it's difficult to stop that momentum, isn't it? Have you noticed that? Have you ever taken an opportunity when you saw it to get some honor? Like you see, if I just do this, I'll get honor. Have you ever done? Okay, you don't have to raise your hand. So we have this course on humility, and one of the questions was, I asked, think of a time when You were engaged in a service, and it was very much motivated, much more by pride than actual service. And after I asked that question, the devotee was very thoughtful. The devotee she said, I don't think there's anything I've ever done that wasn't motivated by pride. So I think for many of us, that's true. Let me do a little skit. This is fun. I went to acting school, and I've been pretending to be a devotee for 50 years, so this is really easy. I can pretend. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then we have the thought bubble, right? You know the thought bubble? I wonder if the devotees are noticing how nicely I'm chanting. I mean, I can see nobody chants nicely like this. Everyone's spaced out. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. We should learn from me how to chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Just pay attention to me then. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yes? If we went around the temple with thought bubbles, then I have a little section in my japa course where I explain to the devotees that when you're chanting, although the mantra has a fixed meaning, the meaning is really the meaning you give it at that moment. Like, what are you thinking about? When we were brahmacharis, during the second half of japa, we were always thinking about breakfast because our meal, the last meal, was like finished at 2:00 the day before. We didn't have dinner. So by 7 in the morning, you're kind of hungry. So if you ask those brahmacharis, what's in your japa right now? What are you thinking? They'll say, puris, sabji. That's in my japa. That's what I'm thinking. So I conceived of this funny drama where you're all chanting and then we go around and I have a machine that reads what you're thinking. The brahmachari's thinking. That brahmacharini is so beautiful. Hare Krishna, blue eyes. I love blue eyes. And you go around each one. What's in yours? And he's got pizza in his. And he's like, and he's got. I hate that devotee next to me. He's such a fake. And you go, isn't it? So why is all that there? Because we came in this world to be number one. That's why it's so hard. Because the momentum is going. Then you become a devotee. And then you're told, stop it. And this momentum is very powerful. And you try to stop it, and it's really difficult. But one thing I think that can help us tremendously is to understand the last instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta. You know the last instruction? Our goal is to become the dust at the feet of Rupa and Raghunath. Like that's the aspiration of a devotee, to become dust. That's inconceivable materially, isn't it? What's your aspiration, Mataji? To become a particle of dust at the feet of the Vaishnava. You mean a particle of dust at Prabhupada's feet? No, everyone's feet. How many of you are thinking like that? That that's your ultimate goal in life? To become a particle of dust at the feet of the Vaishnavas. Yeah. So we come Krishna consciousness wanting to be God, and then we learn we're supposed to be dust at the feet. That's a long trip to get there. Yes.
I mean, for me personally, and I was reflecting on it a lot, seems like one thing which helps to kind of settle down, at least to some extent, is to find one's mission which is independent from anything or anybody. I mean, we're always dependent, but
something you're happy.
Yeah, find something which fulfills you, will make you happy. And then a lot of, because everything you kind of gasping for the opportunities to actually be fulfilled, and the mantra doesn't give you this opportunity because you're on Anartha Nivriti or somewhere bubbling there. You're not even on the level of Ishta. So spiritual energy is not carrying you and doesn't give you satisfaction. And materially, we think we should not look for satisfaction, or we're doing something which kind of ugra karma and killing us, So for me personally, the big solution was to find something which is really kind of personal mission.
Definitely. And the other thing, which goes along with that, well, the problem with finding your mission, you might find out that you're a Shudra. And you say, oh my God, I'm a Shudra. And you feel so bad. That's another topic. But definitely, when you find your mission, you're inspired. And psychologists say, if you don't accept yourself as you are, you're not going to accept other people as they are. And that's going to become a cause of fault finding. If you don't accept yourself, you're going to judge others the way you judge yourself. So if you're hard on yourself, you're going to be hard on others. So I think that goes along with finding, okay, so I've found my Dharma. What is it? I just love to carve Tulsi beads. I have a friend, his name is Tulsi. And he was like the temple president of Los Angeles years ago, and he turned the whole temple around. He was like an amazing manager. He built the temple in South Africa. And he used to tell me, he said, when I get older, I just like to be like a Tulsi Pujari. That's what I like to do. I don't need a position. I don't need recognition. So I think they go hand in hand. But you have to be satisfied with yourself so you can be a nobody and be satisfied, because you'll walk around as a nobody, and if you're not humble, you'll think, nobody knows who I am. This is so horrible.
Yeah, I think this is helpful when you're ready to be nobody if you're satisfied.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because being somebody is hard, because then there's expectations.
Yeah.
So I travel to a lot of places, and so people know me. So I was in Vrindavan last week, and it was like, all these new faces there. Like nobody knew me. I said, this is fantastic. It's like the first time in I don't know how long that I've been somewhere and nobody knows me. And I was just walking around and people they know nothing. I was like, this is fantastic. So we all think we want to be honored, but when you actually get it, it's not what you thought. Last week, Ganadhar Swami was giving class, and he made a nice point, very simple. He said, whatever you expect materially is always less than what you expect, and whatever you expect spiritually is always more. So you expect materially, if you get honor, you'll be happy, and you expect materially, if you're down, you'll be unhappy, and it's just the opposite. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Maybe it is a contradiction regarding Mahabharata. There are different reasons of being proud. Like some person lists 40 or 55, and one of the reasons one doesn't want to be famous or prominent. It is a quality of pride also.
It's what?
Quality of pride.
Quality of
Pride.
that he doesn't want to be famous?
Yeah, doesn't want to be famous, or does nobody should, how to say, honor him. He just want to be peaceful,
Oh yeah, it's personal desire.
Personal desires.
Yeah, that's true. Because everything good can be bad. That's just a reality of life. Or as we joke, some people want to become famous for being humble.
Yes.
So they walk around. Everybody sees how humble I am.
It seems that out of, you should choose the lesser evil. Sometimes, we have to admit there will be some amount of right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah. So this is important. Okay. Because a lot of what I teach is to help us realize where we're at. But the problem is, for some of us, when we realize it, it's very discouraging. Like before, we were in denial and happy. Everything's fine. Yeah, how you doing? I'm fine. Then I went to Mahatma's class, and it was all open. What was wrong with me, and I'm completely depressed.
I don't think anybody is happy if they in this position.
In denial.
They just don't know why they're miserable. You show them why they're miserable.
Yeah, we're going from Tamagun to Sattvagun. So
Right.
ignorance is bliss. But the point is, it's very important to be self-accepting, because it's like after all these years, obviously you have some things to work on, right? So it's just the way it is, and it doesn't matter if you're up here or down here. You have stuff to work on. Like when we were young devotees, the older devotees would always say, we'd say, well, do you finally get over everything? They go, no, it's just different stuff. Until you get to prema, it's just different. You know, maybe you get over this and that, but you still, now you got this and that, and then you get over this and that, you have this and that. So that's just what it is. And to be able to accept yourself as you are is extremely important. Otherwise you become discouraged. Right? You all agree? Yeah. So, I see I have pride. Now there's two things I can do. I can acknowledge it and work on it, or I could look at it and tell myself, you're bad because you're proud. Right? And then what's the result? Become discouraged. So when we talk about these things, I don't want you to feel bad. I just want you to recognize the realities so you can work on them, because if you don't recognize them, you can't work on them. It's just how it is. We all have problems. Raise your hand if you don't have a problem. Okay? What I said has been proven true. I'll tell you a funny story. And this story will really help you. So, this must have been about 15 years ago. Yeah, 15 years ago. 16 years ago. We were doing a seminar. It wasn't my seminar, but it was another seminar. And there was a second generation, what we call Guru Kuli. He was there. He had a really, really difficult upbringing. And I was around when he was a kid. His father was a devotee, but then his father went off and drinking and this and that. And he would travel with his father and stay in hotels that had no place to live. And it was just a horrible, horrible upbringing. So during this workshop, one of the things that was done is that people would reveal to everyone their problems. And at one point, this Guru Kuli, he started laughing. And he said, why are you laughing? He said, I thought I was messed up. You're more messed up than I am. And it made him feel good. Because he thought he had such a bad childhood, and we didn't take care of our kids in ISKCON the way we should have. And he was laughing and laughing and laughing. It's like one of the most therapeutic things for him to see how many problems we have. And I have done many workshops in which we talk about our problems. It may be problems with japa, problems with ego, problems with resentment, whatever. And one of the things you realize by being in these workshops is we all have the same problems. Because we're all conditioned souls, we all come out of the same mode. Nobody is free until you transcend. We all, okay, you're Sattva Gun, you have less of it. You know what happens in Sattva Gun? The best way I could describe it. And this is the way the Bhagavatam describes it. When you come to Nishta, then you're in Sattva Gun. And so you still have the junk, but it just doesn't affect you much. It's like you're aware of it, but it's like, you used to have a pain in your knee and now it's a little tap. So you're still aware, but it doesn't affect you. So you still have to deal with it. And then when you come to Ruchi Asakti, then it's pretty much gone. But even the stage of Nishta, it's there, but it's just not strong. It's not the midday sun anymore. It's like sunset, but the sun's still there. It's just you won't get sunburned. So then I have some bad news for you. Just prepare you for the future, what's going to happen. You will be doing well in devotional service, and you will think that there's some things you've conquered. And about 20 years later, one day, you'll wake up and you'll say, oh my God, I thought that problem was over, and it's still lingering around. And the reason is because those, as we said yesterday, those problems exist in the modes of nature. So even if you've gone on in devotional service for many years, if you allow yourself to fall into those modes of nature, that's where the problem exists. And then again, right? So no matter how advanced you are, if you fall into passion and ignorance means lust, anger, greed, and so forth. It's thought that if you're advanced, you won't fall down. But if you give up your bhakti, your sadhana, then you fall down. Like Jad Bharat. What happened to Jad Bharat was he wasn't contaminated. He wasn't infected. He wasn't weak. He got distracted. And when he got distracted, he stopped doing his sadhana. And that's when he had the problem. So it wasn't like there was something wrong with him. He just saw a deer. And by becoming attached to the deer, it took time away from his sadhana. And that's when he had trouble. So even though you're high, if you get distracted and your sadhana becomes weak, then you get infected with those same things, problems you had years ago. Yes?
Just back to the example of this Gurukula.
Yeah.
It seems that's why we try to find fault in others, because it makes us feel good.
Exactly.
Others, when we pull others on our level or below.
Okay, this is true. Dalgaranga said, it makes us feel good if we can pull others down. Okay. You all agree with that? Makes you feel better, like, if I can pull you down. Gopinath's smarter than I am, but if I can convince myself he's not, I feel good. If I think he's smarter than I am, I go, he's just a young man, he's smarter than me. That makes me feel stupid. So how do I deal with that? I can't deal with feeling stupid, and so how do I deal with it? I got to pull him down so I can feel smart. Yes. Okay, let's look at this. This is pathetic. If you need to feel good by pulling somebody down, that's pathetic. Isn't it? And that's, classic textbook Tamagun.
It seemed like you do it unconsciously. You see, he had a burst of joy, and it was spontaneous. So everybody messed up. Phew, I'm not so messed up. It's not that people even calculate.
Misery loves company. Yeah, but he wasn't fault finding, so it was a little different. It was just information.
What I'm saying that automatically he became happy once he found out.
Yeah.
So I think the mind, subconscious mind, tries to create this situation for us by doing,
Perhaps,
being envious.
Yeah. Here's another interesting thing. It's one Godbrother told me, and I think a lot of us are affected by that. He said, this is so funny and so embarrassing. He said, if I'm with a peer and the peer's more advanced, I don't like it. I become envious. It makes me feel like there's something wrong with me. Because we both joined Krishna consciousness at the same time, but he knows the Shastra so much better than I do. He gets up every morning at 1 o'clock, chants, 40 rounds before Mangal Arati. It's like, makes me feel bad. I don't like it. And then I have another god brother. He gets up at 7. Doesn't come to class. His morning ritual is prasadam. Schnick the whole day. Tries to get a few rounds done. And I don't like that either. It's like, what's wrong with you? You're not following Prabhupada. So this devotee was telling me, he says, I don't know what to do, because if they're more advanced, I don't like them, and if they're not following well, I don't like them. So, interesting. You ever had that experience? Raise your hand if you have not had that experience. Isn't that interesting? So what does that mean? I don't like anybody. More advanced, I don't like you. Less advanced, I don't like you. You just be a good devotee, but a little under me, and then I like you. Right? Hare Krishna.
I think it's again goes back to self-acceptance. He just does not accept himself.
Yeah. Self-acceptance. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful thought. If you accept yourself as you are, then you don't have to compete with that other devotee. And then when you find out he gets up at 1 o'clock, you say, what an inspiration.
Yeah.
I get up at 4, but, maybe I'll get up at 3 tomorrow. I'm inspired. And you're happy. And then you can allow that person to be an inspiration. Otherwise, he doesn't become an inspiration. He just makes you upset. And that's really stupid, isn't it? To have someone who's such an inspiration upset you, and you could be an inspiration because of their example, but you become envious. That's crazy, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense. Or it's pathetic. Pathetic. But once you accept yourself, this is how I am, this is what you get, what you see is what you get, then everything's okay. It's okay. You can be more advanced, you can be less advanced. It's okay, because I'm okay with myself.
I think part of it is that actually we understand that Krishna accepts us as we are. We don't
Krishna accepts us as we are.
I mean, we
okay.
can incrementally become better from our level.
Okay, so Krishna is not like us. He doesn't judge us by IQ. He doesn't judge us by name brands on our clothes. He doesn't judge us by the watches we wear, the neighborhoods we live in, the cars we drive, the titles after our name. He doesn't judge us like that. Because we judge like that, we think Krishna judges us like that. And then we look at ourselves and say, I'm not that smart, I'm not this, I'm not that. Why would Krishna love me? But that's not what he's looking at. And we can see that Prabhupada was the same. He wasn't looking at our material qualifications. He was looking at our heart. Do you want to serve Krishna? And if you want to serve Krishna, Prabhupada accepts you. That's all. So Krishna, Prabhupada said, I studied this, the cause of bhakti, the main cause is your sincerity. That's what Krishna sees. No, not the cause, the qualification. I prepared a class on this, and I was looking up, what is the qualification? And again, Prabhupada said sincerity. And sincerity means serving purely. The pure desire to serve. That's the qualification. That's what Krishna sees. You may be not so smart, not so this or that. Krishna doesn't care. Krishna's after love. That's what he likes. That's why he likes Radharani, because she has all the love. Yes?
So we see that although, let alone Krishna, but we see the gurus, they usually, even maybe Prabhupada, seemingly paid more attention to those devotees who did more service, or somebody who brought more money, very important people, go to people, rich people.
Yeah.
We see gurus in ISKCON also give much more attention to these people. It's interesting. I know that it's
not exactly like that. But,
no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying on the surface,
it seems like that.
It looks like this, and maybe there's different reason to it. And maybe that's why some devotees think that's what they need.
he's making the point that it looks like the guru shows favor to those who do more service or give more money, or smarter, whatever. It's usually because they're capable, so they've got some leadership position, and that's why he's giving them attention, because he's working with them. But in practical reality, it's not true. Plus, the mercy of the Guru comes, the mercy of Krishna comes by pleasing the Guru, so that's always there, in spite of what you see the Guru doing, right? So a lot of devotees, they serve Prabhupada by distributing books. And so when Prabhupada would come to the temple, everyone wanted to just hang out with Prabhupada, except the book distributors. They never wanted to stay back. They always wanted to go out, because they felt they were closest to Prabhupada when they went out. So we have to see it that way also. But this is so beautiful. If you can get the video that Jadavar Prabhu made, it's called Following Srila Prabhupada, and you can get Los Angeles, maybe sometime in the summer, definitely August. It may be August, I'm not sure, because I was in that video. But there's a scene in that video of Prabhupada getting out of the car, and the devotees have two lines. There are not that many devotees in the temple then, maybe 30 or 5 or 40. And the devotees were lined up, and Prabhupada would come, and they would all give Prabhupada a flower and bow down. And he'd give the flower to the next devotee, and he would exchange flowers. And he would do that every morning, and then would bow down and touch his feet, and he would be smiling. And so he would just be reciprocating with everyone, and giving his mercy to everyone, basically. I mean, it's normal. You come up to me and say, Mahatma Prabhu, I just got an inheritance. Can we talk? So, of course. You come up to me and say, I have 108 problems. Can we talk? Oh, can we wait till next week? And the next week comes, I'm busy. Just send me an email, Yeah. So that's natural. So it's not discrimination. It's practical. How can I engage my time best and my resources? But the affection doesn't mean I don't have affection for her and I have more affection for you. It's not like that. Because the Guru is never controlled. You can't control the Guru. It's not controlled by that classic story, Tamal Krishna Maharaj had a book distribution party. It was the biggest party in the world. And that party was stealing brahmacharis from the temple. They'd drive up to the temple, stay a few days, and when they'd leave, where'd all our brahmacharis go? And we had a big bus. So all the brahmacharis, they'd get the other brahmacharis to go out on book distribution and fire them up. And they'd say, why are you staying in the temple? Temple's for grihastas, you should be on the road. And all the temple presidents came and they complained to Prabhupada. And so Tamal Krishna Maharaj was like Prabhupada's right-hand man in so many ways in India, biggest book distribution party, probably one of the top 3 managers in ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, I'm taking you out of this position. It's like no attachment. And one time, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Prabhupada felt he had a disciple he was too attached to. And Prabhupada said he's controlled by that disciple, or he's too attached to that disciple. The Guru, can't be manipulated. He's too detached for that. So it was amazing that Prabhupada pulled him out, the biggest book distribution party in the world. And he told Prabhupada, if you pull me out, the party's going to fall apart. And he said, I don't care. And he pulled him out. Wow. Wow, that was a long response to one response. But the points we made yesterday are important. So, who remembers something else from yesterday? Memories can't be that short. 1 year. What I remember yesterday is that everything went in one ear and out the other.
You were showing it all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
yesterday, so you just manifested.
Okay. What we talked about yesterday and what we focused on in the discussion today, if I could summarize it, I would say we're focused on being comfortable, developing the desire to be humble and being comfortable with being nobody. Like being totally comfortable with being nobody. That's what humility is. You don't need to be recognized. It doesn't matter. Not only do you not need, you don't even want to be. You'd rather just be like invisible. All these devotees are coming for the ILS, and the more devotees that come, the more insignificant you're going to be. Now you're kind of significant. There's like 1,000 foreigners here, so you're one amongst 1,000. Or how many are here? How many foreigners are here?
I think we have 2,000 permanent living here.
Foreigners or?
Westerners,
yeah, 2,000. So you're one amongst 2,000. But now all the senior people come, and all the managers come for ILS, and all the kirtaniers come for Kirtan Mela, and you're becoming more and more insignificant by the day. Like you're giving class, every day everyone's going, wow, you're the best thing. And all of a sudden, all the Maharajas come, and that's the end of your classes. You're like, you go back to being nobody. And so we have to be okay with that. Not even okay, we have to be satisfied with that. If that's how it is, that's how it is. I have this funny story. So years ago, I went to Dubai. We did a japa workshop, and I was really happy because that was the biggest japa workshop I ever did. Outside of that Ukraine festival, where I think 600 devotees come to a class. I never done anything bigger than 100, 150, and there were over 300 devotees. So I started thinking, finally, I'm becoming somebody. 300 devotees. That little thought, not big thought, a little thought was there. And the next workshop I did, we had 9 devotees. And I immediately understood. Krishna said, yeah, you think you're so important? Okay, here. So we have to be okay with that, with either one. And when you're okay with it, that's what I would call humility. That's where we want to get to. And when you're okay with being who you are, then that tendency to find fault, it just seems to miraculously disappear, like there's no need for it, because now you're okay with yourself. When you're okay with yourself, you don't really worry about other people because they don't make you feel like there's something wrong with you or insecure or inferior, because you just accept it. This is what I am. Isn't it like we have these, what Britain Has Talent and American Idol or whatever, What would happen in the world is people who were extremely talented that would never be found before because they didn't have connections, talent agents, record companies. And so it gets to showcase the reality is that there's so many amazingly talented people in the world, right? And so if you're a singer and you watch these shows, you kind of feel like, oh, maybe I should stop singing, isn't it? Or whatever thing you watch where there's talented people. Or to all these so-called adoring fans, and I can sing to the deities. That's amazing. I would take that any day over some big rock concert. Sing to the deities, right? And you don't have to sing so beautifully, you just have to sing in bhakti and they're happy. So that's how we have to feel. And when you feel like that, you will notice your tendency to fault find is going to decrease, 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 because you're okay with who you are. And we were talking about the other thing, blaming other people for how you feel. The other thing is you take responsibility for how you feel, then you don't have to blame anybody for how you feel. So this is a big problem, isn't it? We blame other. We don't accept responsibility for how we feel, but we blame others for how we feel. Yes? You ever done that? Yes.
If someone is a student and if he or she thinks that okay, I'm okay with this talent, how he or she will
Get better?
grow? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, it's a very good question. She's saying, well, if I'm self-accepting, it sounds like I'll never grow. That's what you're saying? I'll just be content.
If he or she is in student stage, means like in our age, it's okay. Means, but if
You would be a bad student, you mean? Yeah, no. What it is that there's two things. Well, the educational system is in need of an overhaul, so it's problematic in and of itself. But when you go to school, like if you give me a spreadsheet full of numbers, I get dizzy and bored, and give me a bag because I'll vomit. And it's just like I hate it. Like if you said you have to become an accountant, I'd say, could I kill myself? Because I'd rather be dead than an accountant. And I asked a devotee who's an accountant, I said, do you like numbers? He said, I love numbers. I said, you like putting all these numbers and the right numbers in the right place and adding them up and make sure you add them up? I love it. So that's part of self-acceptance, is that I'm not an accountant, or I'm an accountant, or I'm a dancer, I'm not an accountant. So our system is so messed up. They say, no, you have to be an accountant. No, but I'm a creative person. No, you have to be an accountant. Sit and put numbers in. For a creative person, doing that, Ivy's an accountant. You're an accountant, right? She's an accountant? Yeah.
Oh, yes, sure.
Yeah. Do you like it? You like it? It's okay.
还好吧。She liked it.
Yeah. Raise your hand if you like accounting. Yeah, so we have 4 people that like accounting. And if you don't like accounting, it's really, really like you just put it off, right? So that's one answer to your question. It's accepting this is where my talent lies. Like I'm really good at this, and I'm not good at that. But in our culture says, no, you have to be good at everything. And that's totally against Varnashram. I'm not, I had science classes. And in science classes, I was like, I'd sit there and think, what are they talking about? This is like, forget it. I have no interest in it. That's just how I was. I lived in a temple with Sadaputa, and he's like, for years I'd hear his classes, and they're like amazing. And all the scientific devotees were like, that was like nectar for them. I mean, I liked it, but it was like, it wasn't me. That's not my fault. It's just my nature, and that's okay. So that's part of it. And the other part of your question is, if I accept, let's say I'm an average student and I have average intelligence, so I accept that, but accepting it doesn't mean I don't try to do better. It just means I don't kill myself if I don't do better. It means that I have to be satisfied that I've done the best. Like a lot of times when I come home, my wife will say, how was the class? Of course, I always say, it was fantastic. You wouldn't believe how good it was. No. But the answer I have to give is based on how I feel that I contributed. You might think it's okay, but if I think, well, I really prepared well and I delivered well and I really tried to help, I'll feel good about it, even if the reviews aren't so good. Can I do better? Yeah. But I have to be satisfied. Well, I tried my best. Right? Otherwise, you'll never start. Can I do better? Of course. Because I can do better, does it mean something's wrong with me? No. That's the problem. You think something's wrong with you because you can do better. Yes?
Is it like if you're trying again and again and you're doing better, but the result is the same, you have to just accept it?
Yeah.
A little bit frustrated.
Oh, I heard this morning walk. Oh, amazing. Heavy. But it'll answer the question. This one man, Prabhupada was saying, when you get older, you have to renounce family. This man was saying, but we have responsibilities. Make sure the kids go to school, you get married, they're taken care of. So Prabhupada laid into him, he said, your children's karma is laid out. You cannot do anything to change it. He said, why is it that you have the best doctor, the parents are there, everything, and the child dies? There's another child's on the street, the parents ignore him, and he lives. He said it. So the same thing. You tried your best. And then whatever happens. Because, there's some karma there, and there's also Krishna karma. Because sometimes, maybe Krishna doesn't want you to succeed yet. Because you'll think you're something special. You succeed, and you'll get proud. And I just gave a TED talk. It's got 2 million hits. I'm the best devotee in ISKCON. No one in ISKCON has 2 million hits. Like GBC should call me in and I should give them advice. So Krishna knows you're going to think that way. And that may even be in your chart. I'm a devotee. I can't even tie my shoes. But that might be Krishna. It might be Krishna just, saying, okay. And vice versa. It could be the other way. You're a very humble person and you're just preaching, you're trying to be Krishna conscious, and somehow or other, you just put your phone up one day and you just looked at it and said, hi everybody, Hare Krishna, and you start talking, and the next day there's 150,000 hits, and you're like, oh my God. The next day 200, all of a sudden you're a sensation, and you're saying the same thing everyone else says, but somehow or other you're funnier, or they like the way you look, and that may be karmically destined. And someone else has got the $10,000 camera and the microphones and the lights and everything and the videos, and they get 1,000 hits. That's it. So I think that's important to understand. Like, you try your best, but you have to be detached with the result. You always want to do better. But there's this amazing story. Similar to that. These devotees were preaching, and they were getting such good results in one city. And in another city, they were even preaching more, and they were getting hardly any results. And they went to Prabhupada and said, I don't understand what's happening. No, they explained it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, you do not understand. Your success, you're not creating. Krishna's creating. He said, your goal is just please Krishna. That's it. And then success, that's a byproduct. Whether you get it or not, it's up to him, it's not up to you. You just try to please Krishna. This happened to me a few weeks ago. We were in China. We were doing a program. And this one devotee came up to me. She said, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I really like your articles, and I've been translating them into Chinese, and I work for this company. Could you come and speak to our leaders and give a talk on leadership? And so I was leaving on Wednesday, so we had scheduled nothing on Tuesday. So I said, well, I could come Tuesday, and this was Sunday. She calls up. 10 minutes later, she says, yeah, it's scheduled for 3 o'clock. All the 40 managers of the company are come and listen to you. Okay. Then we're driving there, and they tell us this is one of the biggest clothes manufacturing companies in China. They make swimwear and yoga clothes, amongst the top 5. And then we walk in, and they have big bouquets. They have a red carpet. They take us around the whole company. We go in the boardroom. There's like 40 people. We give the talk. They love it. Well, I don't want to say they love it. It's like a Buddhist space. So they already like everything that we like. That's why they love the talk. And then they write me like a week later, and they said, we're opening this big like yoga university. Like, it's a couple $1 million project they're opening. I didn't get the details. So this part of our company, we make clothes and this thing, and we want you to be the guru of the company. Okay. So like in 3 days, I became the guru of one of the biggest companies, clothes manufacturers. Like, how did that happen? Like I could have made that happen. Let's make a strategy. How are we going to become the guru of this company? And they said, can you give our company a name? So I gave it a name. So I was thinking, when that was happening, I was thinking of what Prabhupada said. You try to please Krishna and he makes you successful. I mean, like, there's so many successful devotees. Like Radhanath Swami was, you might have seen that lecture he was giving. It was really funny. He was laughing. He was speaking at the HSBC Bank. Is that what it is? What's that? HSBC.
HSBC. HSBC.
HSBC. And I guess it was in London. And so there's all these like wealthy investors and bankers. And he gets on stage and he starts laughing. He goes, I don't even have any money. Why am I speaking to you? I've been like a sadhu, since I was 19. I was like, all I got is 2 dhotis and 2 chatters and my food bag. He was just laughing. But Krishna arranged that. Krishna arranged for him to meet President Obama. It's like amazing things. So he was never trying to do that. It's not his nature. It's not the kind of person that needs to have that. But Krishna arranges it. You please Krishna. So, you try to please Krishna, he'll arrange. Right? It's like we lead kirtan. We go out and we do kirtan. We want to attract people to kirtan. We might do concerts or big events. But ultimately what we're trying to do is please Krishna by inspiring people to chant the holy name and dance. We're not trying to become famous. Kirtan. Actually, I met Krishna Das years ago. We were having a japa workshop, and Satyananda Swami was there, and he came. They ended up sitting down next to me. I was like, okay. So I'm dying to ask him this question. I said, Hare Krishna has a stigma, at least in America. I find it interesting that you chant Hare Krishna. Weren't you thinking this wasn't good for PR or record sales or something? I said, why do you do it? And he said, my guru told me to do it. That's why I did it. And if you hear his story, he just started doing kirtan in yoga studio for 8 people. So he was never trying to become. For some reason, Krishna made him famous. I don't know exactly. But, if you talk to him, he'll, it wasn't like that's what he was trying to do. He said, that's my guru told me to do it, so I did it. So that's the attitude. Now, Krishna can make you famous or not. But if you're trying for the result, not good. If you're trying to please Krishna, that's good. And he can make so much happen. And Krishna knows what you want. He knows you want to be famous. But you're not going to do it to be famous. Right? You're going to do it because you want to glorify Krishna and bring people to Krishna consciousness. That's why you're going to do it. I told you I wanted to be a rock star, right? So 2 years ago, we did a concert. We had 500 people. The first event, we were doing this event every year. And then shortly after that, we went to Colombia. We did another concert, 500 people. Yes, now I'm a rock star. But I wasn't trying to be a rock star. But Krishna knows. When you finally transcend the desire, then Krishna says, okay, now you're ready. I'll make you a rock star. I was the president of the Temple of Mauritius. It's a beautiful island, and it's got one beach, which is one of the best surfing beaches in the world. And I grew up in California by the beach, so I was a surfer, and then I became president. And I had been a devotee at that time 11 years. So there was one French devotee, because the Indians, at that time, Indians didn't surf, so there was one French devotee. So I asked him, I said, what about the surfing? He goes, yeah, I surf. I'll take you to the beach. And so he took me to this beach. And it was one of the best surfing beaches I'd ever seen in my life. And I was standing on the beach, and I said, Krishna, 11 years too late. This would have been like my dream 11 years ago. So Krishna's like that. When you no longer want it, he goes, okay, now you can have it. Because if I give it to you when you want it, then you may never show up again. Right? Yeah. So that's the idea. And there's this letter, and Prabhupada said, it's interesting, same idea. He said, chant to please Krishna, not to please people, and if Krishna's pleased, he'll send people. Yeah, you know from your own experience, what are the best kirtans? The best kirtans are with the devotees who have the smallest ego, isn't it? You ever feel that? You ever feel like someone's leading kirtan and like, wait a minute, the bhav's not there, something's wrong. You could kind of sense that this person is like trying to compete or show off. And then you get somebody humble, like, you just look at this devotee and go, oh my, he's so humble, he makes me feel bad. He makes me feel proud, he's so humble. Right? Those kirtans are like, oh my God, isn't it? And not necessarily because the person is the best musician or the best singer, but because they're humble and everyone's attracted. We have this godbrother named Jayananda. And Jayananda has his samadhi in Jagannath Mandir. So I had the good fortune. And Jayananda, by far, is the most humble person I ever met. By far. And maybe ever will meet. And he made so many devotees. You know why? Because when people met him, they never met anybody so unpretentious in their life. So genuine. So kind. So real. So self-effacing. It's just like, it destroyed their false ego just to be in his presence. And he made so many devotees without trying to make devotees, just by being who he was. So that's the power of humility, and just being yourself and trying to please Krishna. Yes? Hare Krishna. Well, I had a whole class planned today, but we didn't get there yet, but that's okay. I'll just summarize what I was going to talk about. I want to talk about tomorrow the glories of the devotee and how dear the devotee is to Krishna. And I just want to give you a highlight. This is one thing. It's so interesting. It said the deity, the Ganga, Tulsi, and the devotee, they are all Krishna. Those four things, they're all Krishna. Because they're tadiya, they're in relation to the devotee. And of course the deity is Krishna. And there's some verse, some statement, I'll find it tomorrow. They're all Krishna, except the deity is not Krishna till he's installed. Right? But the others, no installation necessary. They are Krishna. So that includes the devotee. The devotee is a paraphernalia of Krishna. And the devotee is to be worshipped, just as Tulsi and the Ganga are to be worshipped. Isn't that interesting? So it said the devotee is in the category of enjoyer in the sense that we serve the enjoyer. We serve the devotees because they're in the category of Krishna. That's amazing, isn't it? I wish Jayananda Prabhu were alive and I could just bring him here and sit him down. If you're in his presence, he makes you humble because by his humility, all of our pretension is revealed. It's like a white sheet. It's like when a person's actually humble, then you compare yourself and you see the pride. Right? And when a person's proud, you tend to compete. It brings out more of your pride. You feel you'll be exploited or something, or they're going to challenge you. Okay, so we can stop and we'll have kirtan. Is that okay? Yeah, we have. I'll save my voice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.